Hey everyone, welcome back to Redbanditracing. Welcome back to the channel. We got the X-MAXX here and we're going to reinforce the body. Now we don't have a dedicated video for that. We have shown it a few times, but we don't have a dedicated video for it. So we're gonna do it with the X-MAXX. The parts that you're gonna need for this, you're gonna need some drywall tape, preferably the mesh. The mesh type, if I can find the edge. Oh, look at that, first try. You want the ones that you can see through. You want that kind of mesh. I know they make different types of different colors. As long as it's drywall mesh, that's all you need. You're gonna need some tape, and the reason why I like using the painter's tape is you can tape over the holes of the body. That way the ShooGoo doesn't go through and get onto the body. So make sure you got some tape. We're gonna use some ShooGoo. These are the large bottles. Now you can get the smaller ones, but for this one, I have an extra one just in case. So I do have 3. We're gonna have to wait and see how much we're actually gonna use. And you're gonna need a Scotch guard pad of some kind because you're gonna wanna rough up the inside of the body. We're gonna need some alcohol. That way we can clean all the oil and grease that's on the body. We got the body armor. We should have enough for that. Got some paper towels. We do have some super glue. Super glue, there's different types that you can use. We're gonna use this one. I can't seem to find the one that I want. It's, I don't like it, whoops. I don't like it when the glue turns white. It kind of makes it look bad. So we are gonna use this. We're just not gonna use a lot of it until I can find the right glue. You are gonna need some gloves, some scissors, and you're gonna need your 2.0 and 2.5 millimeter hex. So let's go and jump right into it and we'll kind of go over what you need to do. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we got to get the clipless system off. So we're going to flip it over and we're going to start taking it off. Majority of these should be your 2.5. I think this one right here for the latch, that's going to be your 2.0. We have not had to ShooGoo a body this size yet. So this should be interesting on how much it's actually going to take. The sledge, we used the tape method and it actually worked pretty well. You know, it's actually lasts a pretty decent amount of time. Anyways, that just slides out like that. We can keep this intact. We don't have to take any of this off. So just leave that way it is. You don't have to take out the front. Now as for the back, yeah, we're gonna have to go and take that off. So let's go grab our 2.0. You wanna take that out because you have to get this piece off right here. So we're going to keep these together so we know which screw goes which, but it should be pretty obvious because that's going to be the smaller screw. We're going to put all these aside so we don't lose any of them. All right, now that we got that out, we're going to go ahead and try and slide this off. I have not taken one of these apart yet, so I'm just making sure that I didn't miss anything. I think you have to take the one from the side off too, right here. I think you got to take that one off. So let's go ahead and try that. There we go. Yeah, that's interesting. You actually have to take off. And let's see here. I got to get that to go down, up just like that. Then you can take it off. Wow, you know what? That's new for me. I didn't know you have to take all that off. We got to take the back bumper off. So same thing. Got that off. Pop this back piece off. Here we go. All right, we got that off. Put that aside. Now we're just left with the shell. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to tape up the outside and just take little pieces like that. And we're going to go over all these holes, because we don't want the ShooGoo coming through those holes onto the body. Last thing you want to do is buy one of these bodies, because these bodies, I believe, for the X-MAXX are about $100. And the last thing you want to do is ruin it, trying to reinforce it. All right, so we got those two in the back, these guys, those. Now, let's get these big ones right here. Just look on the back side, make sure you didn't miss anything. All right, now that we got that done, let's take our Scotch pad and we're gonna go over the whole inside of the body. You wanna make sure you get all the surfaces that you can, because what that's going to do is it's going to make it a little bit easier for that ShooGoo to bond to the body. So now we're going to go clean it out. All right, so we got that dusted off. Now we're going to grab some alcohol. This is just 91%. As long as it's alcohol, you just want to make sure that you're cleaning all the grease off. So what we're going to do here is go over the whole body. Make sure we get it nice and clean. You want to make sure that there's no grease or nothing that's going to stop that ShooGoo from sticking. This is pretty much a one-time application when you do the body armor. When we first got the Rustler 4x4 VXLs, we didn't do this process because we honestly didn't know about it. We were just starting out. And the bodies lasted, I think, 2 to 3 months. It was actually really short-lived with those bodies. So the next time we got brand new bodies, we went ahead and did the ShooGoo, and I believe they only lasted for 6 months, which, yes, it's not a very long time, but they definitely withstanded a lot more punishment because we were doing a lot more bashing at the time. So they definitely lasted. Now the Maxes, like I said, we did that to the original bodies, and they have lasted so long. It is definitely worth it. When we got the new bodies, and I had that black and orange scheme, and Will had the red and black scheme. Those bodies lasted not even a couple of months before they got torn up. So it's pretty obvious that doing this reinforcement is definitely beneficial. It's going to save you a lot of money too. And let's not forget, it's just a body, guys. You're going to tear it up. You're going to mess it up. That's kind of the point of this hobby. So, you know, either way, the body is going to get torn up. The only thing that matters is the body is meant to protect the inside of the car and all the electronics. So just remember that when you're doing all this. I mean, granted, yes, the bodies look nice and all, but it's for protection. It's to look cool and protect your car. Okay, so we got that done. Now comes the tough part. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do half of it, and then I'm going to do the rest off camera so I can at least show you what I'm doing. I'm going to try and angle this the best I can because this isn't the easiest part to do. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a couple pieces and you're going to start cutting it. Okay? Then you're going to lay it on nice and flat. Now it's okay if you overlap a little bit on the sides. That's okay, because what we're going to do when we're done is we're going to go along the sides and we're just going to trim it. So don't worry about overlapping it. This does take a little bit of time. It sometimes, you know, you got to recut this stuff because you want to make sure that you're covering as much surface as possible. Now, when you put the second one on, and this goes throughout the whole car, you don't want to overlap a lot. You just want to overlap a little bit on the next one. Preferably, you want to line up the squares in this tape because you want the ShooGoo to be able to go through the tape. See, just like that. You guys can see that? Just like that. So let's go ahead and do a bigger piece now because I'm going to have to put kind of a long one in here. And you know, you may have to put different sections. You may have to do different sections because, you know, obviously if I'm going to go like this, I'm going to miss spots. So you're going to have to just kind of wing it a little bit and get it the best you can. It's not going to be perfect, but as long as you get as much surface covered as you can, that's all that matters. So now I get from here to here, so I'm just going to get a little piece for the front. And you'll find that this stuff sometimes does not stick very well, and that's okay. It's not going to stick very well. That's okay. Just make sure it's down as much as possible. Just like that. There may be some areas where it's not going to go down all the way. Just do your best. And like I said, this really does take some time. So let's go over a couple more spots and then I'll probably do the rest off camera. All right, so let's do this tough spot right here, which is this back end, because there's a dip right here, right where the tailgate is. So this I would normally have to cut the tape and kind of go around it, which I'm telling you, this is like, this part can be a little bit difficult and frustrating at the same time. So actually that worked out pretty good. Just like that. Got that in there actually pretty nice. Now for the back end, you really want to get this tight back here, because when you put these bumper pieces back on, they have to be able to fit in there. And sometimes you may have to push them in when you put them back in, and we'll go over that when it comes time to put this back together. All right, now I got a little bit of extra, so I'm gonna do the, I'm gonna go around the side right here. I'm not too worried about the back, but then again, I haven't driven this car and I haven't bashed it. We haven't bashed it yet, so I'm gonna go right there. The biggest spots you're gonna get are going to be where the shock towers hit, because the shock towers really stress out. And I believe they're gonna be right here. And see, probably right about here. Those are where it's gonna damage the most. So just be prepared for that, to put a little bit of extra, not tape, but a little bit of extra ShooGoo on those areas that you know they're gonna stress out. All right, I'm gonna do one more piece, and then we'll just go ahead and get this wrapped up. The tape part wrapped up. I'm gonna put one right about there. That's actually pretty good. That's actually a pretty good piece. See how this tape wants to come up right here? And that's okay. Once you put the ShooGoo on, it'll help push it down. All right, so I got that piece on there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the rest off camera, and I'll be right back with you guys. All right, I'm back. I got it all done. I'm happy with it. Now, like I said, some of this is gonna come up, and that's okay. It's gonna pull up a little bit until you start putting the ShooGoo on. So that's okay. So now what we're gonna do, now that we got the whole thing done, it's getting real dark out, we're gonna continue on because I gotta get this done. And you wanna be really careful with what you touch, because the last thing you wanna do is touch the body with the ShooGoo. So let's go ahead and get the gloves on, get our ShooGoo ready. Puncture that first hole right there. So it really doesn't matter which end you start on. So we're gonna start on the side. So let me put my stand back. If you guys can see that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a good, nice good stretch right there. And we're just gonna work it in just like that. Really press down on it. You really want that ShooGoo to get in there. Sometimes it's a little easier just to use one hand. It's really important that you get the sides. My God, you see there's a little bug crawling in there. Oh, he's gonna get trapped. Let's get him out of there. Get out of there. He was about to get trapped in there. All right, now let's do right here, because we want to make sure we get that part down. See, and as you do that, you can actually go around if you want and just put some down on the sides that are popping up, and you can press it down. That sometimes helps as you're going across it. This does take a little bit of time, so don't rush it. Once this is done, you're going to set the body out to dry for 24 hours because you want to make sure this is 100% dry before we move on to putting the body armor on. So we've had to do this to pretty much every single body except the sledge. That Gorilla Tape we use on the sledge actually worked pretty well, and the body's pretty much held up. But we did buy a new body, so I probably definitely will ShooGoo that one. That's so far, that's been a shelf body. So I might not use that one until it's time to use it. The sledge body, man, that body holds up really well, and I think it's because of the design. You know, it's more of a truggy design. The tires are so big around it and the spoiler, I don't think it really doesn't land on the body itself too often. And that body's pretty rigid too, so I think that's what really helps. I'm not familiar with the X-MAXX. So I don't know how well this is going to hold up, but I do know when you ShooGoo the X-MAXX, it works out really, really well. I can't wait. I can't even choose my words correctly. I'm just really happy to have this car. I've wanted this for 2 years since we started the channel, because it's, you know, it's the #1 RC car out there. Whether you agree with me or disagree, it is the king of RCs. It's the ultimate basher. It's just such a beast. I mean, there's a reason why this is the most popular, and you really can't dispute that. I mean, it's proven itself. We did buy some parts for it. I did buy the hinge pins, or the pins from RPM, so I can capture the lower arms on all 4 corners. That way we don't have any problems with the screws pulling out, because I still think they have issues pulling out, which is fine. I mean, that's why I bought them. I bought extra hubs and stuff like that, just in case, you know, because we're not sure what's going to break on this. But I think once I replace them once, the second time, I'm just going to go with RPM, because RPM makes a great product for your basher. So as you can see, I almost got this side done. Now when you get to the spot right here, this is where you just want to make sure you're careful what you're grabbing, what you're touching. See, as you put it on, you can push that tape down, and the tape starts to go down, and you don't have to worry about it coming back up. Just make sure you're in a ventilated area. I should have said that when I first started. This stuff really is really strong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all these spots, make sure this is all done correctly, and then I'm going to be right back so you guys can see the aftermath. And then we'll talk about what we're going to do next and what the next step is. We'll be right back. All right, guys. Well, that took a little bit of time. Definitely have not ShooGooed a body this size before, so this definitely took a little more time. What we're going to do, we're going to let this dry overnight. It's getting late. I'm going to bed. But we're going to, and all these bugs. Okay, you're going to get trapped in there. All right, little bug's going to die in there. So I'm going to let this dry overnight. I'm going to wake up in the morning, touch up a couple spots that I missed. You'll notice the spots that you missed because they'll be really light. Like, I don't know if you can see it right here. Try and get in there. I know it's kind of hard to see with the light, but you'll tell when you're putting it on the parts that you missed. So just put a little bit of extra ShooGoo on the parts that you missed, and you should be good to go. Once this is all 100% dry, we're going to come back and we're going to trim up all the sides. Make sure we get ready to put the body armor on, and I'll show you guys what to do from there. So let's go and let this dry, and we'll be back. All right, so we are back. It's a new day. It's definitely still hot out, so hopefully I can get this done quick because it's pretty warm. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take off the tape, because we don't need that anymore, and we're going to have to make sure that we clean those holes up. Here we go. All right, got all those off. Now what we're going to have to do is let's go ahead and clean up the holes. And the easiest way to do this is we got a reaming tool here. It's good for making holes for like antennas. But you can also, from the back side, you don't have to do a lot. I mean, especially these, you just got to get the screw through it. You just got to go through a little bit. Nothing big. See how I went through it really easy? Because once you put that screw in there, the screw is going to go right through it, and it's going to be fine. If it does get in the way, we'll adjust it from there. We make sure we get all that excess glue out. Now for the back, as you can see right there, pull some of that out. You just want to be careful with this tool because you don't want to make the hole bigger. You don't want to actually start taking some out. That worked just fine right there too. There we go. Wow, you know what? This is the first time I've used the reaming tool for this, and this is actually working out really well. Wish I had this the first couple times we did this. Look at that. It just kind of pulls it right out. This you're definitely going to want to trim. See how it doesn't want to come out? That's okay. We're just going to cut that away. These ones can be a little bit more difficult. This is big enough you might be able to use a pair of scissors. On some of the other cars, it's too small and you couldn't use a pair of scissors. But that's okay. We're going to cut this out. You're going to want to get as much of this as possible, just because sometimes this can get in the way. I've also had to get in the way of the clipless system when you're trying to unlatch it. It kind of makes it a little bit tougher to unlatch. So now let's go ahead and trim the sides. All I'm going to do is go around the sides and trim all this excess off. Now I do have another pair of scissors here, which actually works really good for this because they're curved. So awkward angle getting some of this, and then we'll come back and go ahead and trim the body a little bit so the body armor fits. So we'll be right back. All right, so I got all the sides cleaned up. As you can see, it's okay if there's a little bit left over, that's okay. So now we're gonna need to go ahead and put the clipless system back in, because we're gonna need to put this back on the truck to find out how much we're gonna have to trim off, because these fall into those bottom, I don't know what you want to call them, Nerf bars. I think they're Nerf bars. You're gonna have to trim a little bit of this off, otherwise it's not gonna tuck right once you put the body armor on. So, and the edges right here, you're gonna have to round these a little bit more, because if you don't round them, the body armor won't go around it right and it might stick out. Just like on these edges here, you just have to round them out a little bit. I'm gonna put it back in real quick and then I'm gonna be right back. It's pretty much just in reverse order. So I'm gonna do that real quick and be right back. All right, I got it in, all nice and looking good. The reinforcement tape, it does not hinder putting the clipless system back in. Just make sure when you tighten it, you do it by hand, because you don't want to strip any of the plastic out. You don't want to have to replace anything. So got that done. Now we're gonna go ahead and put the body armor on. I'm gonna put some gloves on. I'm gonna put on my safety glasses, because I have never had glue flick into my eye before. But when you're doing stuff like this, you want to make sure that you got some eye protection, because that's the last thing you want to do is get glue in your eye. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go put this on the car. Actually, let me see if I can do it on the table. Adjust the camera a little bit. Maybe that helps a little bit. Let me get the truck. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because, like I said, the sides. Man, this truck is huge. Okay. So when you put this on, whoops. Okay, when you put it on, everything's good. Now the bottom here, hopefully I can get this right here. That's what I'm worried about. Because when you put this body armor on, it's gonna add a little bit to the sides, which honestly, it doesn't look like I'm gonna have to trim. It looks like it's gonna give me enough room on both sides. Let me check the other side. On the other side, man, it's touching on that side, but is it touching on this side? You know, weird. It's not touching on that side, but it is touching on this side. I'm trying to think of what I'm gonna do. The body's on nice and tight. And let me get the camera down here for you guys. As you can see, it just touches right there. You guys can see that. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do is on the passenger side of the car, I'm gonna have to trim the body down just a little bit. Let's go ahead and get this back in. I'm gonna have to readjust the camera, guys. There we go. All right. So what I'm gonna have to do is on this side, I'm gonna have to trim a little bit. I didn't want to have to, but I want to make sure it's gonna fit right. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just taking a little bit off the side. As you can see, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. So now I'm gonna go put it back on the truck. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. That's how we're gonna leave it. Now what we're gonna do real quick before we start putting the body armor on is we got to fix the sides. What you're gonna wanna do on corners like this, that's it. You're just gonna round it. You're not rounding it a lot. You're just rounding it enough so that when we put it on, it goes on smooth. Get a little bit of that extra off. That's good, that's good. Let's go and do this side now. And as you can see, I'm barely taking any off. Now you're gonna wanna do the back corners. The backs will be a little bit different because as you can see from the back, I'm really gonna have to round this out because the back's gonna be pretty hard to do. As you can see, I rounded this out. It's kind of hard to see in the camera, but I rounded this edge out a little bit to kind of match. I might round that a little bit better. Sorry if I'm doing this off camera. This is a little bit hard to do with. All right, that's better. As you can see in the front, right here, I straightened it out. I did take quite a bit off, but I wanted to make sure it was straight, so that way the neoprene goes on just fine. Now this stuff, I've tried many glues. I've tried tire glue, super glue. Don't use crazy glue because that's not gonna work. I tried this glue right here and some different model glue, but it seems like every glue I use, it leaves like a white residue on the rubber, and I hate the way that it looks. I'm gonna try this because I did test this earlier and it left no white residue. We're kind of hoping that this is gonna work just fine. If it doesn't, it might be the glue that's acting different with the material of the rubber, and that could be what's causing it. But hey, we're gonna go for it. This glue right here is JB SuperWeld. It comes with the light right here, and it's supposed to activate it and make it dry really quick. So we're gonna do that, and that's how we're gonna put on, just like that. So what I like to do is I'll start from one end. There we go. Carefully, because you don't want to get this glue on your hands right there, just like that. What you're gonna do is you're gonna work it on. Just like that. And once you have it on, this is supposed to help activate it, and you wanna keep it really close. About an inch away. And it's supposed to help dry it, but it has to make, obviously you gotta be able to make contact with this, with the glue. If there's no glue to shine this on, it's not going to work. So sometimes it spreads out, sometimes it doesn't. That's all we're going to do. Then we're going to pull this back a little bit until I can see a little bit of the glue. Just like that. This does take patience. So do not rush this process. Yeah, don't rush this process because you can get glue everywhere, and then it makes this a lot harder to do. So I'm gonna go over a little bit more just so you guys can see how I'm doing it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get off camera and do this so I can wrap this up. I put it right there. Squeeze it on just like that. I'm hoping that this glue doesn't leave a residue. I'll be super psyched. I'll definitely put a link for this glue in the description because, like I said, I've tried 3 or 4 different glues. Some of them were recommended and they did not work. It looked so bad. I really hated the way that it looked when I was done. Each time, that is. And you know, bodies aren't expensive. You kind of want them to look nice. I mean, granted, you are bashing these anyway, so I mean, they're not going to look great forever. But you know, you spend a lot of money on these. You want them to look nice. All right. Just make sure you press it in really good and then hold. You're supposed to hold this on for, I think it's like 5 seconds. And you want to be at about an inch away. But I'm just going over it real quick. Now I want to get to the harder part because I got to round this corner here. As you can see, I'm doing, I want to say, see that corner came out just fine if you can see that. I want to say I'm doing anywhere from about 4 or 5 inches at a time. You guys do it at your own pace. You guys want to do it really slow, that's fine. But I usually try and go, you know, 4 or 5 inches at a time. It's easier to control. You don't want to go too much. All right. This part gets a little tricky. I may have to be off camera a little bit for this, but that's okay. Try and do it right there for you. I'm gonna do this last section and then I'm gonna do it off camera. Yeah, this front bumper is gonna be a little bit harder. Also depends on, it really does depend on, sorry, I'm trying to talk at the same time here, on the drywall tape that you have underneath. If you got a lot of drywall tape on the edges, it's gonna make it harder. You saw that little bit of smoke? This light is activating it. It actually helps to cure it really fast. I saw a little puff of smoke come off. I don't know if you guys saw that. All right, so I got that hard part done. That's actually looking pretty good. So let me go do some of this off camera and I'll be right back when I'm towards the end. All right guys, I could not be happier with how this turned out. There is no residue on this. I am so glad I found some glue that'll work. So now what I'm gonna do, now that I got all done, before I show you guys, I'm gonna put a little bit of extra in some of these spots where it's open. You guys probably can't see the smoke, but this is what activates it. And this is a lifesaver because this really does help it to dry a lot quicker. So you don't have to worry about it moving around. Okay, so I got that right there. Any of the corners right there, did you see it popping up just a little bit? I just put a little bit of extra glue in there to help make sure it stays on. Because once this stuff is on, it's really hard for it to come off. The only time it ever came off was on the back end. The back end, we've had it tear off because as you can see how I did the back end right here, I had to section it. And that's the only way to get it to actually go on. I think I found my new favorite glue for doing the body armor, guys. And I will definitely put this in the description so you guys can have it for yourselves. Now, I'm gonna use the rest of the glue. And what I'm gonna do is right here, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be very generous on the insides. And I'm gonna run this through it to make sure that it dries. And I'm gonna do that all the way around. That's just like an added security that this is gonna dry and that the rubber is not gonna come off. All right guys, we're all finished. It looks great. It didn't leave any white residue on the body armor. I am super psyched about this. I'm so happy because a couple of cars that we did, especially the Rustler and the Max, by the time I was done with it, it looked so bad. I just really didn't like it. I'm trying to see where it is. Give me 1 second, let me find it. All right, found it. This is just an example. This body is really beat up, but you can see the residue on top of the body armor. It just turns white, and it turned white all the way around. After a while, it kind of went away, but this paint did not stick. You guys can see the paint didn't stick, but you can see the white residue all the way around. That really bothered me, especially right there. Really looked really bad. So yeah, we didn't really do body armor on this. I'm sorry, the reinforcement. Tried the dragon skin, didn't work. I don't recommend the dragon skin. I would recommend Gorilla Tape over the dragon skin. But if you guys want to take a look at this all the way around, nothing. Looks really clean. I'm going to put a link down for that Loctite. I'm sorry, it's not Loctite, it's JB Weld. I'll put a link down. You guys can check that out. That worked really well. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you guys out. Stay tuned. We will be doing a bash video. And we might do a speed test. I mean, I don't see the point in doing a speed test, but we'll definitely check the speed before we bash it. But we're gonna send it off the ramp, test that ramp out. It's definitely reinforced, so it should handle the speed just fine. It should handle this big guy. Let us know, should we verse this against the Sledge, which the Sledge is supposed to be X-MAXX tough? Should we go against the E-Revo? What should we verse this against? I mean, I can't do something really weird like let's take this and verse it against the Rustler. That would just wouldn't make any sense. But let us know what you guys want to see. Because if you guys are thinking about buying this, and you want us to verse it against something else maybe we have that you guys are also interested in, let us know. We'll definitely compare the two for you guys, and that'll be a lot of fun. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys check out our Patreon, check out our Instagram channel. Make sure you guys follow, like, and subscribe. See you guys on the next one.